"We can't just wing the wedding photos," my dad whispered to my mom 5 minutes before the ceremony started. He glanced at me, his eyes narrowing like I'd committed a crime. I was standing there, camera in hand, ready, but apparently that wasn't good enough. They called me photographer, like I'd auditioned for the role a week ago. It shattered something in me. Because I've been the family's backup plan my whole life, and on the one day that mattered most to my sister, my parents reminded me why. Everyone else? They were excited. Aunt Rita fussing with my sister's veil, cousins comparing dance floor moves, guests snapping selfies. But me? I was just the photographer, their unpaid contractor for the day. My heart sank, and in that exact moment, I made a choice. If they were going to treat me like second class, I'd make them remember who I was. I wasn't always the photographer. I loved photography, sure, but I never chose it full-time. I have a day job doing graphic design, and I shoot as a hobby. My parents knew that. They supported me at first. They hung my framed photos in our living room. They shared my Instagram shots. But lately, they'd stopped calling me by my name. Instead, I was photographer. Like I existed only to document, not to celebrate. My sister deserved beautiful wedding pics. I knew that, but not if it meant erasing me. Because every time they barked at me to fix the lighting or reposition Grandma Gladys, it reminded me of all the times I was sidelined. Like the time they asked me to organize their filing cabinet because I've got an eye for order. Or that family trip when they made me take photos because everyone knows Rahul's got the good camera. Before I even raised the lens at the ceremony, I'd been reduced, and I wasn't okay with it. The ceremony started. My sister looked radiant. My mom teared up. My dad fought back tears, his throat bobbing with emotion. Vows were exchanged. There were laughs, a few sniffles, and the kind of joy that makes your chest ache. I captured candid moments. My mom stroking my sister's cheek, my dad's proud stance, my nephew stomping dirt in his little dress shoes. But every time I looked up, I took the camera off my neck, walked over to my sister, gave her a hug like I hadn't in years. No lens between us, just me. "Hey," I murmured. "I'm here." She looked surprised. "Dude, what are you—" "Just wanted to be your brother for a second." Her eyes blinked back joy and a little shock. A moment, and I left, heading toward the reception setup. I grabbed a microphone from the DJ. The music stopped. All eyes turned. I swallowed. Can I get your attention?" The murmurs quieted. My parents, sitting at the head table, froze. I continued. "Hi, everyone. I'm Rahul." My voice shook, just a bit. "I was supposed to just take pictures today, but maybe you don't know something about me." I paused. "Photography isn't a side thing for me. It's who I am. I've been working toward this for years, and I'm proud." I held up the camera. "But I'm also your brother, son, nephew, friend. And if today's just about me standing behind a lens, I'm okay stepping back." A nervous gasp, scattered applause. My dad's jaw went slack. Mom's face went pale. Everyone stared. Then I smiled. "So please, no more calling me photographer. Today, call me Rahul. In fact, go ahead. Watch me for a bit without checking your phones. Laugh if I make you. Hug my sister if my outside lens brother me smiles back." There was a beat. Then my sister jumped up, plowed into me with a hug so tight I felt her heart pounding. My mom cried. Dad nodded slowly. That moment changed the atmosphere. The room shifted. Guests laughed, cheered. My parents whispered. One of them said, "I'm sorry." I didn't ask which. The day unfolded differently after that. I danced with my niece, did the garter toss with a grin, bumped elbows with the bartender. I took portraits, but I asked permission. I directed people gently, but only when they asked. I clicked less, laughed more. My parents? They watched me. Proud, emotional. They whispered things like, "That's our son," and, "Did you see him?" I saw them pass glances, owning that moment. I soaked it in. At the end of the night, after the last guest had gone, I found my parents cleaning up. Exhausted. I snapped a flash photo of them, candid. When the camera flashed, they laughed. I walked up. "You okay?" My mom glowed. "You were amazing." My dad choked back emotion. "I'm sorry, son. You deserve to be called by your name, by everyone, not just today." I nodded. "I got noticed as me, that's enough." My sister came up, hugged me. "Thank you, for everything. I love you." I leaned on my mom's shoulder. Dad draped his arm around me. In that moment, I wasn't their photographer. I was their son. If you're ever stuck behind a role someone else assigned you. After I put the microphone down, something in the room shifted. I could feel it, like the air got lighter, the smiles warmer, the laughter louder. For the first time that day, I wasn't just photographer or that guy with the camera. I was Rahul, their son, their brother, someone they couldn't ignore. People came up to me throughout the evening. Some whispered, "That was really brave." Others just smiled and gave me a nod, like they understood something unspoken. And my parents? They sat at the head table, stunned, probably replaying what I'd just said over and over. My mom's eyes were wet, her hands wringing a napkin nervously. My dad's face was unreadable, but I caught him stealing glances my way, trying to figure out how to process it. I wanted to say more, but I held back. I knew this moment wasn't about me anymore. It was about my family catching up with me. My sister was glowing that whole evening. She came over several times to check on me, pulling me aside and thanking me. "You don't know how much that meant," she said softly. "You being you, not just the guy with the camera." That made me think of all the times I'd hidden behind my lens. I loved photography. It was my passion. But it had become a shield, a way to disappear when I felt unseen. That night, I made a choice. I was going to be present, not just in photos, but in life. So, after a few more portraits and candids, I finally put the camera down for good. I walked out onto the dance floor. The music pulsed through the garden tent, strings of fairy lights twinkling overhead. My niece grabbed my hand and dragged me into a silly dance. My cousins laughed as I made a fool of myself, but no one cared. I was there, really there. My parents watched, and something passed between them. Maybe pride, maybe a little regret, maybe hope. Later, near the buffet, my dad pulled me aside. "Rahul," he said, his voice softer than I'd ever heard. "I'm sorry. We made a mistake treating you like a role instead of our son. We didn't mean to make you feel less." I swallowed the lump in my throat. "I just wanted to be seen." "You are seen," he said. That night, we packed up the last of the decorations together. My mom laughed as she folded napkins, and my dad teased my sister about stealing the spotlight. It felt like the start of something new. Over the next days and weeks, I thought a lot about that night, about identity, about the roles we fall into and the labels people stick on us, sometimes without meaning to. My family had reduced me to the photographer, not because they didn't love me, but because they didn't know how to see me beyond that. And I'd allowed it. I'd let the label stick because it was easier than confronting my own doubts. I realized that sometimes people don't see us because we don't speak up, because we hide behind what we do instead of who we are. That realization hit hard. I started opening up more, to my family, my friends, even strangers. I talked about my passions beyond photography, the books I loved, my secret dream of writing, the fear that maybe I wasn't enough without a camera in my hands. It was scary, but it was freeing. My sister and I grew closer. We'd always been tight, but now it felt different, more honest. She asked me about my photos, but also about my hopes, about my fears. And I listened to her too, about the pressure she felt as the bride, the insecurities behind the perfect smile. We shared late-night talks, whispered confessions in the kitchen while washing dishes. We were no longer just siblings, we were friends. My parents surprised me. They started calling me by name again, Rahul, not photographer. They asked me about my day, my dreams, even joined me on photo walks when they had time. I won't pretend it was perfect. Old habits die hard. Sometimes I'd catch my dad slipping back into old patterns, telling someone, "Rahul's got the camera," like I was a tool. But when I called him out, he listened. He apologized. We worked on it. I learned that sometimes people need reminders to see us fully, and sometimes we need to remind ourselves first. One evening, about a month after the wedding, I sat scrolling through the photos I'd taken that day. There were the perfect shots, the kiss, the first dance, the group photos, but what stuck with me most were the candid ones. My mom wiping a tear from my sister's cheek, my nephew stomping mud on the floor, my dad's nervous smile before his toast, me laughing with cousins, camera off, heart open. Those were the real moments, the ones no label could capture. I realized then that my role had changed. I was still the family's photographer sometimes, because I loved it, but now I was also the brother who belonged, the son who mattered, the person who refused to be invisible. I kept that photo album in my room, not just as memories, but as a reminder that I could be seen on my own terms. If you're listening and you've ever felt boxed into a role, the quiet one, the fixer, the backup, know that you're more than that. You're the story behind the role, the person who deserves to be seen and heard. Sometimes, the hardest part is stepping out from behind the lens and letting yourself be vulnerable. But when you do, you might find the world waiting to see the real you. Because at the end of the day, that's what family is supposed to be about, seeing each other, fully and without conditions. And that's exactly what happened for me. It's been nearly a year since that wedding day. A lot has changed, not just with my family, but with me. Sometimes I catch myself staring at the photos I took that day. The smiles, the tears, the laughter frozen in time. But more than that, I see something else. The moment I stopped being just the photographer and started being seen as Rahul. That shift didn't happen overnight. It took courage. It took me standing up, speaking out, risking feeling vulnerable in front of the people who mattered most. And it took my family learning to see me again, beyond the role they'd assigned. Now, when I walk into family gatherings, I don't feel like an invisible background player. I'm there, fully there. My parents call me by name without hesitation. My sister includes me in conversations, and my cousins look at me as more than just the guy who always has the camera. I learned that sometimes people pigeonhole you not out of malice, but because it's easier for them. Easier to see you as one thing than to understand your full complexity. And sometimes we let ourselves be boxed in because we're afraid to break the mold. But breaking out? That's where growth happens. I'm still a photographer, but now I'm also an advocate for myself. I remind my family when old habits sneak back. I remind myself that my worth isn't tied to any one role. The wedding was a turning point, not because of the photos I took, but because of the moment I took for myself. I hope anyone listening who feels invisible or reduced to a role knows this. You are more than the label. You are more than the role. You are a whole person, worthy of being seen and loved for all you are. And sometimes, it's okay to put down the camera, step into the light, and say, "Here I am." Because when you do, you might find the people who matter most finally looking back at you, with eyes that see, hearts that understand, and arms open wide. Thank you for listening to my story. If you've ever felt overlooked or boxed in, I hope this inspires you to speak your truth and be seen for who you truly are.